Review of Chernobylite. Before 2022, if you were to ask the average person on the street to tell you one interesting fact about Ukraine, the vast majority would probably reply with something like, "Isn't that where Chernobyl thing happened?" And besides the odd misguided comment about chicken Kievs, that would most likely be your lot. It's a shame then that it has taken a horrific and sad turn of events to encourage many people to greatly expand their knowledge of Ukrainian geography, history, and politics, and to a growing desire to learn more about the country and its people. That said, if you were to dig deep into Ukraine's impact on media beyond some beautiful folk music, you will find that there is a reason of the events of Chernobyl incident that stand out as being so to the country's cultural heritage, having been responsible for inspiring great art and creative works that will immortalize the disaster by finding the beauty and philosophy deep at the heart of a uniquely human tragedy. It's no wonder then that many writers, directors, and game developers risk appearing cliché in order to explore the themes of Chernobyl disaster, probably most notably in HBO's excellent TV series Chernobyl, the fantastic Stalker series of games, and one of the most memorable levels in the Call of Duty franchise. Enter Chernobylite, a sci-fi horror sort of survival game that seems to take a good deal of influence from Stalker and the Metro series, but without stealing any of its ideas directly from them. This game puts you in the shoes of Igor, a physicist who worked at the power plant before the meltdown. Igor has a great deal on his plate, and he's trying to find out what happened to his fiancée, Tatiana, who mysteriously disappeared 30 years ago, whilst also seeking Chernobylite, a rare power source created during the meltdown. Igor needs to accomplish his goals whilst also avoiding the mysterious Black Stalker, a whole host of bad guys and monsters, keeping his sanity in check and collecting supplies and to craft resources and build up a base to keep his allies happy and healthy. This man seriously needs a rest. Chernobylite is tons of fun, in a depressing sort of way, to play. Missions can be fairly short, but scavenging for supplies to take back home can extend playtime, and there are tons of choices to make. Some will affect the story, such as deciding which characters to side with and which missions to undertake, while others are more subtle, like the fact that killing enemies and enduring stressful situations will harm Igor's physique, meaning choices need to be made as to whether to engage in combat, to try and get more precious loot, or to sneak by through the radioactive murk and preserve your sanity. So, pretty much what you need to expect. The game now has the option of playing in resolution mode, which brings you 4K at 30 FPS, with ray tracing or performance mode, which runs at 2K and a silky smooth 60 FPS. It's nice to see a game handling performance mode at 2K rather than 1080p, and it really does look wonderful. The lighting effects in particularly are incredibly atmospheric. Exploring underground bunkers gave me the same feeling as when I first played Commanded Criminal Origins back near the launch of the Xbox 360. The same feeling of dread and claustrophobia twitching every time a shadow moves or you bump into something. It really does look beautiful, and the photo-scanned environments go a long way to immersing the player into the game's world. Similarly, when you're outside in the forest with God ray piercing the trees, it just feels incredibly immersed, and that's what a game like this needs. The frame rate holds up flawlessly too, creating a smooth playing experience even when it's kicking off and there are bullets flying all over. Chernobylite's 4K mode does as it says on the tin, and as usual, changing to this setting straight from performance mode makes the drop in frame rate very noticeable. I found it difficult to adjust as turning and aiming started to feel sluggish, and even the menus felt slower. The improvements to visual fidelity were not just enough to justify the performance drop. The ray tracing effects are nice, but the lighting looks so good in performance mode that it's hard to justify a significant drop in performance for some slightly lighter lights and shadowier shadows. Do not take this thing as a major criticism of the Chernobylite, however. If anything, it speaks to the game's favor that it just looks fantastic in performance mode. So much so that I find it hard to see why anyone would want to swap to the resolution setting. The game runs smoothly and it looks great. It loads rapidly, the lighting effects are eerie and the atmospheric, and other than that, not a great deal has changed from the base game. The only real issue I noticed during my time with the game was occasional stuttering when moving around the main hub area. Fortunately, this doesn't seem to persist in the open world, and the hub area is only small, so it shouldn't cause anyone too much grief. If you love Chernobylite and can't get enough of it, or if you're interested in giving it a go for the first time, the Xbox Series version is a worthwhile purchase. If you enjoyed Stalker, Metro 2033, or even tangentially related media such as Tarkovsky's amazing film Stalker, based off the influential post-apocalyptic novel Roadside Picnic, you could do so much worse than to give Chernobylite a go on your Series XS console. You may not come away learning a great deal about Ukraine, be a better person for learning how to make a radioactive suicide booth using only a handful of mushrooms and some chemicals. Don't ask. That's all.